Well, Mako, welcome to the Raw. Do you still pinch yourself about having landed this gig, or is it actually feeling real now?
Yeah, it's feeling real now. I think probably for 2 months, literally, I would wake up every day and just go, what the F? I've actually got this job. How cool's this?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But now sort of in the swing of things, so it's feeling a bit more real. And it's still exciting, though. Still very exciting.
So tell us a little bit about what's happening now. So what sort of activity are you personally involved with in terms of the All Blacks?
Yeah, so it's sort of built as the months have gone on. January, February were fairly quiet, which I think I needed a bit of downtime. And then we started doing, so when I say we, me, Nick Gill, Kat Derry, the nutritionist, and Sid, another S&C guy, started doing visits of the Super Rugby clubs, which was awesome. So we did 5 2-day visits over 5 different weeks, just really to connect with players and the physios who report back to us and the S&C staff. And so that was really awesome just to see how each franchise works and just meet those people, meet players, just chew the fat really. And so that's been 5 weeks of my work. We've had 2 or 3 management get-togethers in Auckland and Wellington. And that's been awesome as well, just getting to know the people we're going to be working with. But also getting to know NZR staff and stuff like that. And we actually had a morning tea with Blackfern's staff, which has never been done before. Apparently they've never even mixed before, unbelievably. So just things like that. And then they sent me off to Japan a couple of weeks ago to catch up with the 3 senior All Blacks that are returning, so Adi, Bowden and Sam. So that was awesome, and they really appreciated that I made the effort to go and meet them and see where they were at physically. And for me, it was important to connect with them because they're senior All Blacks who I haven't worked with before. So just starting to develop a relationship and starting to develop that trust, patient physio trust that you need, especially with high performing athletes. You know, it's their bodies that make their money, so it takes a bit of time for them to actually trust what you say. And then I did a bit of PD, so as we just chatted about, went over to the Sydney Roosters for a week and caught up with Simon Jones and the medical team over there. So Jonesy, of course, I worked with the Stags many years ago, and he's gone on to big and bright things. He's head of high performance over there, which is an amazing job at an amazing club, and he's around some really nice people. They're a really family-orientated club, and he's doing a great job. They're really appreciating what he's doing over there, so that was good. And yeah, so it's only a couple of months away now until we'll probably not even that, 4 or 5 weeks until we have our first camp. So just basically at the moment, just accumulating weekly injury reports from the different physios, wanting to know about, the coaches are wanting to obviously follow the players that they're monitoring. So we have weekly Zoom meetings on a Tuesday, so sort of Monday I'm busy collecting all that information, making phone calls I need to make, getting all the information I think they might want to know on a Tuesday. So it's been really, really interesting and quite satisfying, but also challenging, yeah.
Given your background and knowledge of Japan and that relationship, which you would expect is only going to get stronger in terms of players coming backwards and forwards from there, I mean, that must be a huge bonus for the All Blacks, a bit for your ability to go over and be able to do that.
Yeah, so that was just me by myself, went over to do that and arranged it all myself, but you've already sort of got relationships with physios in those different clubs, and also likes of Toyota. There's a guy there, Pricey, who's from Winton as well. He's their S&C, so having those relationships so that they're actually reporting to me on a weekly basis as well as to how those guys are going injury-wise has been pretty valuable as well, I think, yeah.
Mm. You've obviously had a bit to do with the league, given you were the Kiwis physio there at one point. But what did you find from that visit to the Roosters? And I mean, they're obviously, always talked about as one of the more professional clubs around. But what did you pick up from that visit?
Yeah, I love my league. Warriors win yesterday. It blew me away. I just woke up a very, very happy man this morning because no one was expecting that win.
No.
But the club's just got great facilities. So, for example, players have got the ability to prepare for a day really well. They've got great prep rooms where they can stretch and get on the trigger guns and stuff like that. And then they've got amazing recovery facilities as well, which the Hurricanes have got, and the Blues have got, but a lot of our other clubs don't have the same ability to probably recover as well, and it's so important.
What sort of kit are they using there?
Well, they've got saunas are pretty big, so some of the clubs in New Zealand have got saunas as well. Players are loving saunas, cold baths, swirl pools where you can walk around in the pools, spas. You've got the sleeves you put on your legs, so the compression sleeves, and then there's a self-rolling, and obviously they'll get massage as well. So recovery is just huge now.
How did you go? Of course, coincidentally, it was when the Roosters were playing the Warriors, which will shock nobody. But did you have split loyalties, or how did this play out?
I actually
on
did.
Game day?
I actually did, because I'm what they call a D1er with the Warriors. So I've supported them since day one, and that's been a pretty tough gig. I can assure you. I've been to both their grand finals they made. So I do love the Warriors, but funnily enough, it was a weird sensation because you'd spend a week with those people and you get a relationship with those people. You chat with them, you like them, staff, players. So I actually, weirdly enough, and my mates will chastise me for this, but I actually found myself wanting the Roosters to win, particularly because it was Jared Waerea-Hargreaves' 300th game. Yeah. I'd worked with him with the Kiwis. It was nice to reconnect with him, and I think he deserved that. So, yeah, I actually did want them to win. I didn't want them to win so convincingly, but I thought they would win just with the way they prepared their week and that as well, to be honest.
Was that the game that I seen Jason Ryan in the coach's box?
Nah,
was that
he was there.
game?
He was there the week earlier.
Right.
He just spent game day with them. So Scotty Hansen's been over there with them as well, and they love having visitors because they pick up stuff as well as us learning from them. So Jace was there just basically around to see how their coaches communicated on game days, down to the staff, how they communicated with the players, and how they communicate with each other in the box, basically, just trying to pick up little wee gold nuggets there. So he's always looking to learn, as everyone is. And I think Razor's had a fair bit to do with Robbo, their coach as well, around theming a year, theming a season and stuff like that. Robbo was telling me, yeah.
I've got a bit of a list here, Mecca. Just let me know if I've missed anything. But Singaree, Marist,
Yeah,
Otago Under-19, Otago Colts, Highlanders Development, Otago, the Highlanders, Southern Steel, the Stags, the Kiwis, including a 2008 World Cup, Samoa, Japan, and World Sevens referees, and going to an Olympics. It's a heck of a resume.
Yeah, I don't think you've missed anything there, and loved every minute with every one of those teams you've just mentioned, really. I just feel so lucky to have been able to be involved with all those people. And it's funny, my wife Karl is not really from a sports background, and she's constantly amazed that wherever I go, I run into someone that I know through sport, just through connections with sport. And to me, that's the most amazing thing that sport's given me, is just people that you run into and see, and you might have worked with them, but you don't keep in touch with them now. But when you see them again, it's just like, you were with them yesterday. Because when you are working with them, you're living in each other's pockets. You do become best mates for that period of time.
I'm picking when you finished playing and you started off with Singaree, you didn't write on a bit of paper AB's physio. Like, has this been a natural progression, or have you just said yes to lots
Doesn't
of
every
things?
Singaree physio want to be the All Black physio? Isn't that the natural pathway?
I'd forgotten this, but a friend of mine, when I was studying physio, asked me what I wanted to do, and funnily enough, I didn't say the ABs. I actually said the Kiwis. That was my goal, was to be the Kiwis physio. So,
No, so you've already peaked.
no, not at all. Probably because I thought the ABs was it's just not doable, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all those teams were a massive step towards getting to where I've got, and when I look back, there's been a lot of sacrifices from family, and especially family, kids, me being away so much and stuff, to get to where I am. So this really is the pinnacle of and the end of a lot of hard work. But also, I don't see it as hard work because it's all good times. And like Singaree, for example, I was up there last weekend and had to go up there and take a player for some rehab in Dunedin, and did it at Singaree, and then watched Singaree play and had a beer before I came home. And it's just awesome to see all those guys again, connect with all those old supporters,
They're going good at the moment too.
They're going real good. The club is pumping. It was funny that they beat Harbour on the weekend, and they have a trophy for the Harbour game. What's it called? I forget what it's called. It doesn't matter, but they hadn't won it in 16 years, and they, like, imagine that you've played a club every year for 16 years, you haven't beaten them. They finally got the monkey off the back and got it back in the club. The Skulls Memorial it is, got it back in the club where it rightfully belongs on Saturday.
Actually, you might be stalking the sidelines for Marist too, as they talk of that.
Yep. No, I've already strapped Marist about 3 weeks ago. Pricey couldn't be there, so I was actually flying out to Japan on that day. So I had probably, I think, an hour before my flight. I was strapping the Marist boys, and then I got a call up from Scratcher, who's coaching Star, to go and strap one of their boys. So quickly jumped in a Star and did his knee before I jumped on the plane. But yeah, no, I'll certainly be back at Marist, watching them play, and if Pricey needs a hand, I'm more than willing to step in.
He's a good lad, actually. We got him going with the Sharks this year as well, Tim. So he's he's doing really good work. There is something about doing this gig out of Invercargill, and I know that's an important thing for you too, right?
Yeah. I think it's real special to be able to do it out of Invercargill, and it's perfect because I've been away a lot, and I'll be away for a lot less this year with doing it out of Invercargill. But I mean, the last physio to do it out of Invercargill wasn't that long ago, really, Neil Hamilton. So following in his footsteps, and I remember seeing Neil when I was playing First 15 rugby, going to his clinic in Windsor, the one across the road from where it is now, and thinking how amazing that must be for what he did. And he actually, I think he won that first World Cup. He was with them when he won the first World Cup, 87, yeah. So, yeah, pretty cool to follow in his footsteps, and for people to know that you can actually still do it. I mean, I've obviously had to work away a lot, but I've still done most of the stuff, apart from 5 years with the Highlanders, from Invercargill.
And I think the beauty is too that, you know, you mentioned Simon Jones and Jason Price, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it just shows that if you follow those opportunities, you can do it from starting with the Stags or the Steel, or I think Jonesy started with the Sting, didn't he?
Yeah, Jonesy, probably the Stags, I think, and then got into the Steel. I don't think it would have been the Sting. He's not that old Jonesy. Although he looks old, he's bald now. So he started. He was just a up-and-coming S&C coach when I worked with him at the Stags, probably, I don't know what year, it would be years ago now. And then he ended up going on to getting the Japan gig eventually, and he was a big reason why I got the Japan physio role, because they were having a bit of trouble over there with their return to play with the Japanese staff. And Jamie Joe said to Jonesy, you know, do you know someone who think would be a good fit here? And next minute I'm getting a call and having an interview with Jamie Joe, and he's got me over to Japan after having sacked me when he went to the Highlanders.
Is that how the story goes?
Yeah, so as happens in this job, like I was 5 years with the Highlanders, and then Glenn Moore got moved on, and Jamie Joe got brought in, and he wanted a whole clean out of his management, so it wouldn't matter how good you did your job, you were gone. And that's part of the game that we're in high performance sport, unfortunately. But I was pretty bitter for a couple of years there, and wanted the Highlanders to lose every game, which they probably did those first couple of years.
Yeah, mission accomplished. Yeah.
But by the time
They came right.
yeah, they come right in 2:15.
Right.
He got them winning. I was over it by then, so I got to enjoy that victory for the Landers.
But am I right? You ended up on his ticket, so to speak, for
for
the All Blacks job.
Yeah, exactly. So I always tease him about this. I say to him, you do realise you sacked me, and now I'm working for you. He goes, yeah, but I got it right eventually.
There was a story the other day about the ABs being, they're still, you know, despite not winning the World Cup, they're still the biggest global brand in world rugby by about $1 billion, I think, more than England are number 2, according to this story. Like, I'm thinking of you, I think it was back in January, you went into that first camp with the management and a few of the contracted players and that sort of thing. Were there a few nerves going into that camp?
Yeah, massive amount of nerves, because I'd only worked with Scotty Hansen with Japan, and Paul McLaughlin, the new manager, with probably Otago Development and Highlanders Development way back in the day, and hadn't worked with any of the players. I knew Gruder was the only one I'd worked with, so I had a bit of imposter syndrome, if I'm honest. The couple of nights before, I didn't sleep well at all. Woke up and said to my wife, I don't know if, I just feel like I'm an imposter here. I don't know if I belong here. Which was a natural thing to feel, but it was the wrong thing to feel, because I do belong there, and I know that now. But I was incredibly nervous going into that. But after that, felt so much better and at ease, because everyone was so welcoming. Everyone was so nice and friendly, and from then I sort of realised I did belong in that space. But the All Blacks is something different. It's got an aura about it. Like, I remember going to NZR, and you just go in there and just realise the importance of the All Blacks to the whole country, really, but especially NZR. That's the only real team that makes any money in the professional game in New Zealand, and there's a lot of weight on the shoulders of coaches, staff, players, obviously. So yeah, it's good though. It's good pressure. I love it. It's awesome.
And Ethan gave you a good reference by the sounds of it too.
Yeah, apparently I think Razor phoned up Ethan and had a chat, because Razor couldn't speak to too many other players because I hadn't worked with any of the other All Blacks. So yeah, I'll probably owe Gruder a wee beer at the Northern next time I see him there. But also he rung guys like Michael Leach and Jamie Joe and Tony Brown, and obviously Scott Hansen, who he's worked with, spoke in detail with Scott. So they did their due diligence. Well, you could say I got the job, but maybe they didn't do due diligence.
Because I guess the interesting thing too, wasn't it, through the process, obviously, Jamie Joseph went in with his team, which you were part of. Scott Robertson didn't go in with a team as such, and then advertised the position. At that stage, did you think your chance when Jamie Joseph didn't get the job was gone?
I really did. I was gutted. I was gutted for Jamie, obviously, because it's such a public thing that he's gone through. He's put his name forward, and he's missed out. And so I was really gutted for him, but I was also gutted for myself, because I thought that was my chance of ever being the All Black physio gone. But yeah, not for some reason, but Scotty was open with a few, like he had his coaching crew that he took in with him into the interview, but he didn't have his staff and his management. He wanted to advertise wide and try to get the best people. And even then, when he advertised, I thought, I'll put my name in the hat. I might get the assistant role, but I was pretty sure that he would give the head role to one of his Crusaders that had won 7 championships with one of those physios. But yeah, I don't know. I've got a good marketing wife, and she must have done some nice slides up for me for my presentation. And must have bamboozled old Razor.
What can you tell us about the appointment process? I mean, how did that work? How did you have to go? What did you go through to
yeah, it was pretty bizarre. Not bizarre. It was a bit not stressful, but it took a long time. So we were building up for the World Cup with Japan. So I was in Japan at the time. Put my application in. And then probably 4 weeks later, you had to, I think everyone got sent a video link. You had to answer some questions on a video. So they obviously screened a few from that. And then from that, there was a interview. I think they interviewed maybe 5 people. There was a Zoom interview. So obviously I was in Japan at the time as well. So you had to present for, I think it was about a 30-minute presentation. You were given certain questions to address, and then they asked questions of you for 30 seconds a panel, which involved Razor and Gilly, the head of S&C, Karen Rasmussen, head of medical at NZR, and Mike Anthony Motzi, the head of high performance at NZR. So those guys interviewed you, and then there was supposed to be going to be another stage after that, where they actually got you in person. They'd bring you in person to interview you. So I was waiting after that for, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks. Every training, I'm in Japan, I'm looking at my phone, waiting for an email. I kid you not.
Yeah,
Every time the phone pings off.
Wondering what's going on, and then nothing happened. And
no news is bad news.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just,
right.
Yeah,
But then
tough.
I heard through the grapevine that he was ringing. So he's ringing people. He was ringing Leachy and stuff. So I thought I must be in the picture for a second interview. And then we're preparing for a pre-World Cup game, and I just randomly got a phone call, and it was Razor, and he said to me, look, I want to offer you the physio job. I said, oh, hey? what are you talking about? There's supposed to be another interview, isn't there? He goes, no, we don't think we need another interview. We think you're our man. So, and I had to keep it quiet because then they had to let the other candidates know and stuff. So told my wife, obviously, and my kids, but they had to keep that quiet for about a couple of weeks, which was pretty tough.
Yes.
And that's when it started waking up in the mornings going, what the? Yeah, pinching myself.
It's awesome. Because there is also the angle that you were in the mix from a Warriors point of view too, right?
Yeah, so I'd come back. We had a week off in the build-up to the World Cup, and I'd come back, and as soon as I landed, went to HQ and had an interview with their head of high performance, their doctor, and Webby. And I must say, Webby is like, I don't know if you guys ever watched him on a after-match press conference, but he's an impressive man. He's really is impressive and likeable. And the interview went really well. Like, I thought I'd nailed it. I actually thought I'd get that job. I didn't think I'd get the All Blacks job, which would have meant me shifting to Auckland. And then I got the All Blacks job. And then it was after I'd got the All Blacks job, I got a phone call from the Warriors to say that I was unsuccessful with that role. So they'd gone with someone else. And the reasons they gave me were probably legitimate. One was they were worried that with me shifting away from my wife not coming with me, that it wouldn't be much longevity in it. And they wanted someone to really take their program forward. And the other one was that I hadn't done a long season with a team. So 31 weeks plus pre-season, and you literally only get 4 weeks off and then you're back in. So I hadn't done anything like that, which was a fair call. But by that stage, I actually didn't give a shit because I had the All Blacks job.
You're okay with that.
Well, I did.
Yeah, of course.
Right at this point in time, probably the busiest person in New Zealand is the Warriors physio,
Yeah,
given
they
what's going on with injury.
10 out of their 30 injured. Yeah, it's been a horrific year.
It is a completely different sort of campaign, though, right? I'd guess
it would be
from an athlete welfare and management and rehabilitation point of view, it just keeps coming at you, doesn't it?
I'd say it's ruthless and relentless. It'd be rewarding as well, particularly if you go well, but it would be tough times if you're having a bad season, just extremely tough, which I've had a few with the Stags, to be fair. 22 straight months, I think.
Yeah. So I'm interested, you talk about, and you mentioned it in passing almost, but it was around that return to play piece, right, which I think is a bit of a string to your bow, right, you know, and it's why you got that Japan role, which was the context of how it came into the conversation. So tell us a little bit about what that is, and what is that ethos, or how does that work, and how to maybe you approach that potentially differently than others.
I think that is one of the strings to my bow. One of my strengths is my return to play skills, trying to get players back as quick as possible, as safe as possible. And sort of my ethos is I like to push the boundaries. So I'm sort of living on the edge of pushing too hard where you break the athlete and then you're back to square one, which I haven't done for a long time now, thankfully, but I did plenty of it as I progressed through earlier in my career, and that's how you learn, I think, through your eras. But pushing those boundaries, and because if you push a player harder, closer towards the line of where their scar's going to fail, you're going to get them back quicker. You know, you might get them back a week quicker, which in professional sport is massive. It could be the difference between, you know, them making a team or your team winning that next game or whatever. But I think my real skill is right from early days when I'm rehabbing someone is I make their rehab not just gym strengthening, not just running, but I also love making it position specific for them. So right from day one, if I've got a prop, I'll have him doing ISO holds on a scrum machine right at a level that is not going to damage his scar, and then breaking from that scrum, might be just breaking from that scrum, going into a clean, or doing the movements he'll do in a line out and lifting a 20 kg plate, and then coming around and making a tackle or something like that. So I do that at a real low level and slowly build that up as they build up through their rehab process, and you're able to get heaps of hard work in them when you're doing that, so you're actually returning into play, not just fit from a fitness perspective, but you're actually fit from a match sort of play perspective. And that's some of the work I actually did on the weekend. I had to go up there and work with Tamati Williams. He's based in Dunedin at the moment. He's got a wee baby in neonatal intensive care. He's been there for 8 weeks, so they wanted me to go up there, and he's rehabbing a hamstring injury and just make sure he got the speed metrics that we needed him to hit so that he can go back to the Crusaders this week safely, because they were playing overseas. He couldn't obviously travel. But also did a lot of rugby stuff in there with him as well, doing rugby conditioning and stuff, which I love doing that. I'm finding it a bit harder as I get older, but I can only probably get them to 60% before I've got to get a player to come in and hold the hit shield now.
That's something I hadn't really considered before, was the fact that it's not just when you get them back, but a player wants to come back and they don't have another 2 or 3 weeks to play themselves back into form and fitness. They want to be firing as soon as they come into it, eh?
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, with a long-term injury, we like them to have 1 or 2 weeks of full team training. But if you're just a short-term, let's say a 3-week injury, hamstring, then it's not safe for them to train with the team, because if something happens during, say, a team training and someone throws a shit pass, they've got to reach out, bang, there goes their hamstring. So they've really got to, and they can't really return to the team until they're 100%, able to sprint and change direction and whatnot, and accelerate and decelerate. So it's important that they're getting a lot of rugby training at that level, that there isn't safe for their injury at the same time, so that they can go back and straight into a starting team, once they've been cleared fit, hit the metrics we want them to hit and whatnot. So there's a lot of science behind it with GPS and metrics and chronic loads and stuff that we try to work out how we can push them as hard as we can without risking them for re-injuring and whatnot. So it's pretty cool. I really enjoyed that side of it.
Through a Super Rugby campaign, who probably has the say? I mean, if you get an All Black that's carrying an injury and working time frames, is that do you play a role in that, and how much of a role?
Yeah, interesting question, and something that's come up reasonably recently. Actually, we do play a role, but we don't want to be parental where we're telling them what to do. So we're just in constant discussions with them and saying, it's hard because they know as much as I know, and I've also got to have relationships with those physios, good relationships. So it can be hard having those conversations, but generally we'll all come to some agreeance that's got the players' best interests at heart, and that's what it's about at the end of the day. It's not about the All Blacks, and it's not about the Hurricanes or the Highlanders. It's about what's doing the best thing for that player, really.
I know it's why you've got the job, but I just it's such an athlete-specific recovery from injury. Must be such an athlete-specific thing, and you've also got another layer, I reckon, of complication too, haven't you? Whereas some of that return to play is very prescriptive now, delivered, almost as a one-size-fits-all by the national body or whatever their, organisation is. So you've got so much to try and marry up there to do what you do, right?
Yeah, you do. I don't think it's not too prescriptive. I think you've got to have your own ability to chuck your own drills in there and time frames. Like, it's almost getting a bit prescriptive, which I don't actually like. Like, a lot of it's based on scan result shows that this hamstring tear involves the muscle tendon junction, so that should be 8 weeks.
Yes.
But there's other research that shows that same person with that scan has come back in 3 to 4 weeks. So if you're basing it on 8 weeks, you're just costing that player 4 weeks. You're costing New Zealand Rugby 4 weeks of wages they're having to pay him for not playing. You're costing the player 4 weeks of getting a chance of getting in front of the All Black selectors. So for me, I use a bit of science, but I also use a lot of intuition and experience that I've sort of gained over the years through making mistakes. Yeah.
It's a great insight into the prep that goes on around the game, and then you get into this 80 minutes of a game situation. What does that look like for you?
Oh, for me, on the sideline,
Yeah.
Obviously it's the best seat in the house for me. I love it, but that's also stressful because you're making big decisions as to whether a player can continue. You've got to make them pretty quickly. You're getting messages down from the coaches regularly that you've got to go outside of the rules and sprint onto the field and just pass those on regardless of what a touch judge is saying. You've got some coaches that don't communicate that well. They're screaming and yelling, and it's hard to, and you've got the crowd, so it's hard to get the message correctly. So, it's exhilarating and exciting, but also got a little bit of stress involved as well. But I love that. I love game day. I love when the team performs well and everyone's happy and you just crack open a beer once you've done your jobs and everyone's sit there, have a wee beer, do a job well done, it's nothing better, no better moment than that, whether it's club rugby or whether it's international rugby. That's what you play for, right? Just to sit back and say job well done, have a beer and relax with and enjoy the company of your mates that you've worked with.
Nice. You've worked in such a number of sports, and over a long period of time, like the number of athletes you've worked with would be mind-boggling. But are there any athletes that sort of stand out, I guess, for their, just their determination and their resilience? And
yeah, there are. There's ones from club level through to international level. So probably the toughest rooster that I've worked with is a club rugby player, and that's Tangaroa Walker, old fish. And I remember one day we were playing at Les George Oval, and he comes up to me before half time and goes, "Oh, Macca, arm's a bit sore," and I strap it up. So I didn't even assess it properly. I just strapped it up as ordered, and he played the rest of the game, and then got up there, went on the booze with the boys that night. He would have, I would imagine. Then he was up milking cows in the morning and realised his arm was still real sore. He rings me up and says, "Oh, arm's still no good, Mac. I've just been out milking the cows." So he come in to see me, and I said, "Oh, mate, I think you should go to the hospital." And he'd fractured his forearm. A fracture of his forearm. He played 50 minutes of rugby, got on the booze, milked cows in the morning, and then got it looked at. But then there's other guys like Simon Mannering. He was just a warrior, a soldier, tough bugger. Michael Leach, unbelievable. Just get better with age and trains hard, and he's a resilient athlete. There's heaps of them. One of them's not Phil Halder, I can tell you that. He was soft. I hope he's listening to this too. I had to tell him once. He loves this story. When he was just breaking into the scene, and I was really hoping he would get into the scene because he's a good bugger, and he was playing awesome for Marist, which was the club I looked after, as well as the Stags. Anyway, he started to get his breaks, and he'd be always in my office complaining about this. And I said, "Mate, you're going to have to learn, if you want to play at this level, to play through a bit of pain and just get a bit tougher, mate." And I didn't realise, but at the time it really hurt him. He loves reminding me about it. I was talking to him on the phone last night, actually. He gave me some venison, so obviously he still likes me a little bit.
That's a much better question. Softest athletes that you've worked with. That would be great content. Eh? I mean, I'm also interested in
He's not soft, by the way.
No, not at all. No, he's good cover. I'm also the way the game has changed as well, in terms of a collision sport, and the impact nature of it.
Geez, yeah.
I mean, give us what's your take now of the either the type of injury and the issues that you're dealing with now by comparison to when you got going back in the old Zinkery days?
Yeah, it's just a brutal high-speed collision sport, and the prep that players have to do mentally on a Saturday, knowing they're going in and they're going to hurt themselves, and it's just ruthless. Like literally not going to war, but they're going into a ferocious battle every week, and the collisions are massive. It's just horrific to listen, and I mean I love it, but it's horrific to listen to the collisions and feel them and watch them. They really do put their bodies through the ringer. So injuries are unavoidable. We try to with science and whatnot, we try to minimise the soft tissue injuries because they're to a certain extent avoidable if we don't undertrain or overtrain them. But you can't stop the collision injuries, the knee MCLs where someone's just got smashed in the outside of your leg and your foot's planted, the ankle getting caught, that sort of stuff. You can't stop that. The shoulder collisions, that's just part of rugby. And we're seeing it more and more in rugby league and rugby. The injury rates are just going through the roof. It's just part of the sport, and you just got to have depth in your squad, good squad numbers. There's studies out of the UK which show you should expect from the whole premiership, you should expect 28% of your squad to be unavailable at any one time in the season.
Yeah, right.
So that's what the stats show.
Mm.
Makes
Keeps
the
blokes like me busy.
Physio's job's pretty important.
Well, it keeps us employed.
You've mentioned Marist a couple of times, Macca, and it's a club that sometimes has its detractors. These guys give it a hard time.
They're just jealous of jealous of the Vatican.
Why is Miller Street such an important place to you?
It's important because it's where my uncles played, it's where my dad played, it's where I played as a kid, it's where my dad's mates are. It just was ingrained in me, as probably blues was to you, or I just have a feeling deep in my heart for the club. My only regret is that I never played Premier Rugby for them. I played all my Premier Rugby in Dunedin, and I still love that club as well. But Marist is just something special about the people. I know all clubs have got the same feeling, and all club members have the same feeling for their club. But that's the beauty of sport. I think it brings people together.
And you mentioned, obviously, you went through some challenging times with the Stags, where wins were sort of few and far between. I mean, we all know about sort of 2009, and then winning again in 2011, and obviously the tenure, the run through 2010 as well. I mean, that's pretty special sort of times for the province.
Yeah, I wasn't there for the 2009 win, but I was there I came in for the 2010 defences and then the 2011 win, and it was just phenomenal. Like, the city was just pumping, they were just talking rugby, the support, the feeling around the town was unreal. And then on game day, you'd pack the place out. I think we had 5 challenges for each of those Shield tenures, and it was just something else, just incredible to be part of. One of my favourite times, really. Amazing, yeah.
There's some interesting characters in the management team in those days. Bureau and Doc Finlayson.
Yeah.
A couple of likely lads.
It's Bear and Doc Finlayson said in the same sentence. Doesn't sound right, does it? No, we had some good. Yeah, Bureau was a good man, and Doc was probably at his peak during those years. We had a really good crew actually, and Goof and Nibs, and it was an unreal special time. And the players were phenomenal as well, and you're seeing them now coming through as coaches. I mean, yeah, and chatting to Panel and Tintin today actually, and they start doing a great job. They're up and coming coaches and building a good program down here, and awesome to see them getting Southland locals coming back that Otago had stolen off us. We've got them coming back, which is awesome, really good.
Absolutely.
What can you tell us about what the Razor Robertson All Blacks are going to be like?
I don't think there'll be a dull moment. I think they'll play expansive. I haven't been part of these inner conversations, but I'm sure they'll play a good brand of rugby. I think he's really keen to make the country be really proud of the All Blacks. He wants to engage with the community. We've already seen him doing that and us doing that with the Black Ferns, for example. So he's really big on that. And from what I've seen, 7 years with the Crusaders winning, he obviously gets teams that want to play for him, and he obviously has good people around him with the coaching staff. I've heard he's more of a man manager rather than a real hard out coach on the field. He's just overseeing things, is what I've heard. But he's obviously got some massive people management skills to do what he did with the Crusaders. So really looking forward to it.
It's interesting, eh? Like when you talk about that, just thinking about the Marist conversation and that real club feel about things, which you get at a provincial level too, I reckon, that real connection and passion. There's I won't say a disconnect, but it's a little bit different in a national organisation, I would guess too. Is he more about building something like that? Obviously, like you'd think about the culture of those Crusaders teams that he was able to build. Is it a little bit more that way inclined? And is that because I guess you had the Kiwis experience as well too, right? So tell us a little bit about that, I guess, and what you think you'll bring there.
Yeah, I think there'll be a big emphasis on connections. Like, he's really big on people connecting and relationships and caring. And if I think back to the Kiwis, Wayne Bennett was like that as well. Lucky to be involved with him in 2008, and he just genuinely cared about his players. And I get a feel that Razor might be the same sort of person. Took a genuine interest in their lives outside of football. their families and what they like doing. And Wayne would sit on. Coaches always sit in the front seat, right? Wayne Bennett would always sit in the bus beside a player and spend that time when you're driving to train and getting to know that player as a person, and that just instills confidence in the person, and that person then wants to perform for you as well. And they're not doing that on purpose. They're doing that because that's the sort of people that Wayne is, and I suspect Razor might be as well.
You'd be nervous sitting in the bus, Wayne, for a bit until he sits down and you know what mood he's in.
Oh, yeah. He's actually a funny man, like real funny.
Yeah, talk us about that.
It feels like a bit of a charade, his press conference. He's probably a different person.
Oh, completely different. Yeah, I don't think he's...
He just
can't be bothered. Yeah, he can't be bothered. He's just worried about his players and his team and his club. But he's a funny guy. Him and Benji had a beautiful relationship. Benji used to call him Long Neck, because he has literally got quite a long neck. Hey, on long neck, he'd say. And I remember we had a couple of days off once might have been between the pool play and quarterfinal or something, and Benji comes back on the bus and comes in and says to Wayne, "Hey, you going, Long Neck?" Everyone's listening, and Benny goes, "Oh, good, Benji. How are you going? Did you go all right in the last 2 days?" He goes, "Yeah, I did actually, but you know what, Benny? She was asking after you." And the boys are all laughing. He goes, "Not just Long Neck up here, are you, Benny?" It's just so like he just loves that stuff. He's a funny guy, brutally honest with his players, but caring at the same time.
Yeah, you will have had a fascinating insight into it, because there's not one way to do it from a coaching point of view, right?
No.
So you talk about some of these guys that I'm sure you call it a privilege to be able to work alongside.
Yeah,
I mean, that's something else. So even just from a man management point of view, getting an insight into how different people do it.
Yeah, I've been lucky to work with some amazing coaches like Jamie Joseph. He's an incredible leader. Runs a great program. He's tough. He is tough. The exterior is what he is. He is hard on you. But I loved working for him, because if you're good at your job and you're prepared to work hard, you're sweet, and he respects you, and he'll basically look after you, and he'll make sure you get further jobs and stuff like that. He's a real loyal sort of a guy. Tony Brown, he's one of the best, probably the best technical coach, and just one of the great human beings as well. Just a good person, likes to have a beer, gets the balance right between fun and work, and he's obviously got an amazing mind around rugby. Scotty Hansen with Japan, he was awesome defence coach with Japan, great person, sort of a hard, he was called Wee Bear because he's quite an angry wee man, and we had Jamie Joseph was called Big Bear. So they you can work out what sort of coach he is, but he's a really deep thinking, good coach. And then you had Steve Kearney. I loved working with him. You had Goof and Nibs. They were sort of real good as a combo.
Yeah,
bounced off each other really well. I've been really privileged to work with some amazing coaches and amazing S&C coaches and doctors and other physios. It's just been a privilege.
Awesome, mate, and it has been for us to have the conversation. Thanks, Macca.
Yeah,
this is the first chance for the three of us to congratulate you formally, publicly, I guess, on terms of the role. Stoked for you.
Thank you.
And can't wait to see you in action out there, mate. So go well.
Thanks very much, guys. It's been a pleasure.
It's been good.